Hi, it's PegandDes on
Scandal.
So, a lot of changes. They said everything's gonna change as of this episode.
Absolutely.
And we saw a lot of changes. Want to remind you guys to subscribe to our channel and leave us comments.
Absolutely. And we apologize for the delay in this video. We tried to do it a couple days ago via Hangouts, had a few issues, but we are here. So thanks for coming to watch.
All right.
Sally is confirmed as the killer of Daniel.
That conversation that they had prior to her kind of committing that crime of passion was harsh. They were going in.
No, not they. Sally was going in.
He was kind of going in on her too. He called her, what did he call her? Like a debutante that couldn't get a man?
Oh, that's true. That is very true. You know, he basically accused her of knowing the fact that he was gay and just deciding to marry him anyway because she needed a man in order to carry out her political aspirations.
Exactly. And he got her so heated that she stabbed him in the back.
She said that I suffer you.
Yes.
There were so many kind of biblical references in her speech. I mean, we all have known that Sally is very much on her Bible thumping, but even in her lashing against Daniel, she went in.
Well, what did she say to Cyrus when she called him? She said, like, the devil got into me or something like that?
Yes. And Cyrus, I don't know how many times this episode referenced himself as the devil. If you were playing that drinking game, you were drunk by the end of this episode.
This hit Cyrus hard. He took that devil thing on.
Yes, he did.
He was like, you know who's the devil? Melly and I are the devil.
But I like how he wasn't the devil alone, right? He was like, you know who's the devil? We are the devil.
Right.
Not just me, we. And Melly's like,
Melly was like,
not me, boo.
No, she was like, I'm not bothered.
No.
I'm not bothered. Nope, that's not my problem.
No, that's a real devil. That is a real devil right there. Someone was like, I can't.
She was like, listen, I didn't put no knife in nobody's back.
I sure didn't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I sure didn't. I was someplace wondering who Fitz was having sex with. Right. I was busy. You're not going to bring me into this. So.
But Cyrus is struck hard, and he's paying the price.
He really is.
I mean, we'll talk more about him and James later, but he's paying the price for this.
Sally and her campaign manager was an interesting conversation too, because the question is Sally actually going to run for president after all of this madness happens? I mean, we know that the doctor comes, the doctor doesn't actually have to inspect Daniel, praise God, and now Daniel can be buried without anybody knowing that he was killed.
I thought it was a beautiful piece of acting from Sally. She should deserve an Oscar. She should get an Oscar for just that.
Scene? Oh,
when she acted like she's so in shock, she couldn't even talk. When they first brought the doctor in there, she was basically catatonic. Cyrus has asked her a question, she has nothing to say. But the second the doctor went to examine the body, she was like, nobody touches my husband.
I felt like somebody whispered in her ear, Madam President. And she was like, oh no! You know, she knows. She knows that can't go down. So, I mean, Sally could presumably bury this man, bury this secret, have Cyrus, Melly, and the campaign manager be the ones who know that she killed her husband, and then run for presidency on the independent ticket as a widow, a grieving widow at that.
What I would like to know is, are they saying that every sitting president we've had is basically a murderer? Because Fitz killed
the old girl, the Supreme Court attorney. I forgot about her.
Now Sally,
Verna.
Now Sally's killed somebody. Does every sitting president have a murder under their belt? That's
Let me tell you, when you get to that stage of power, you have done a lot. It is do or die. It's do or die. Nobody has time for your I have a dream speech. It's time to kill some people and get in office. You want to be in this Oval Office, you better get down. So I actually forgot about Fitz and Verna. That's a good throwback.
Oh no, because you know I've been reading some of the things about this season, and they're like, look, the point of it is none of these people are good. There's no heroes here.
No,
nobody's a good guy. They're all just shades of gray.
And the thing is the shades of gray that I pick are the ones that are most interesting, right? So if you're going to give me shade and you're going to be a miserable person, make it interesting. And I find Sally's storyline to be particularly interesting. Yeah. The whole James and Cyrus situation, that is so interesting. When James said to Cyrus, I want to be press secretary. Let's get focused.
Well, because Cyrus was like, you're not really gonna leave me, are you?
Well, Cyrus has an interesting play with that, right? It's like, I love you,
right?
But I also know you're not going anywhere. Well, and you know you're not going to be
right.
here.
He's like, I'm not above blackmailing you, bribing you, whatever it takes to keep you here.
That's right. And matter of fact, that little brown baby that you're so affectionate of, I'll make sure that I keep that too, even though I know I don't want her.
Right.
So everything that you thought you had, you should be prepared to lose if you don't want to ride the Cyrus train anymore. So James says, fine, if I've got to be here, I'll be here on my own terms. Press secretary, make it happen.
Well, Cyrus is basically turning James into a monster like himself.
Very much so.
So that should be an interesting relationship going forward.
Very much so. I mean, because at that point you can't trust, Cyrus never trusts anyone.
Right.
Never extends anyone any trust. But James definitely did trust Cyrus at some point. And even after that trust was broken in previous episodes, he worked to regain that trust. Yeah. Now, in this arrangement, you're looking at a Melly and a Fitz.
Yes.
It's like, I'm here. I recognize that I have to be here in order to make certain things happen. I don't trust you. You don't trust me. You get me what I want. I'll get you what you want. And we'll just be okay.
Yeah. Yikes. Kind of cool.
Somebody call Hillary Clinton and ask her for some advice.
Oh, what?
I said it.
Throw in check. Let's talk about the other budding romance on the show, Charlie and Quinn.
So this is a shade of gray I don't like.
No?
I can't get into Charlie as sexing. Like I want.
He is not sexy.
No, sexing. Like as a verb. Like Charlie is a hermaphrodite in my mind.
Yeah, their scenes their intimate scenes when he tries to mac on her. They're a little awkward.
And then like when she was laying in the bed and he came up behind her I was like, that caress looks like the caress of death. It just was not.
But you don't want her with Huck. You don't want her with Charlie. Quinn gotta get some loving.
I feel like Quinn needs to find a librarian.
What? No, Quinn is messed up in the head. She was 2 seconds away from killing Eli with that syringe in her pocket.
But she didn't. She hesitated. She hesitated. Because she could have, and it very well could have gone off, but she waited too long. I still feel like Quinn has some things in her, but she doesn't have all of the ingredients in her. So what I'm interested to see is when we come back from break, is Quinn going to be 100% in the B613, I like to torture, I love to kill, give me your fingernails, toenails mindset?
I think that she is. I mean, she carried off the whole cover-up of the vice president's husband's body. She was the accomplice in that.
I thought that was really interesting that Cyrus called those two.
Right.
Because, does he know that Quinn and Olivia no longer communicate?
I don't know, actually.
Because remember, his whole thing was, we don't want Olivia, he told Melly, we don't want Olivia to know because she'll tell Fitz and that's going to be a problem.
Right.
So to invite Quinn in to help clean up the scene of the crime just seemed a little counterintuitive to me.
I think he called Charlie. Charlie was the one that goes, hey, look, we got a job to do.
Does Cyrus know Quinn? Like, could he look at her and say, that's one of Liv's girls?
I think he knows of her, but I don't think he knows her deal.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, because remember, like, they killed her boyfriend as part of their whole cover-up of Defiance.
Okay.
So they know of her.
Right.
I don't think he knows what her deal is. So I think that Charlie just, like, pulled her into it. And I think that now she's riding with Charlie now. Because she's hurt by Huck. Like, she's emotionally been hurt by him. He physically hurt her. And so now she's like, I'm going this way.
He rejected her. I mean, she went up, she showed up at the office, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. She doesn't have anybody. Her entire life revolved around the gladiators.
Right. And
which is
like,
not a good place to be revolving.
And he said, you're not a gladiator anymore.
No, you're not.
So, bounce.
No, you're not. I mean, you betrayed Queen Bee, and when you do that, that's a problem.
Yeah. So she's going left.
Well, how did Jake get in charge of B613?
Fitz put him in charge of it, right? That's the gist. So, my favorite scene in this episode was Eli telling Fitz all about himself.
Summertime and the living is easy.
He read him like his name was Nene Leakes. He was like, listen here, boy, you don't know nothing about life. You are a spoiled, pampered brat. I've made myself, and Olivia has made herself on my back, and you are not worthy. And it was beautiful, because you could see Fitz's face kind of start out like, I've got you, But by the end of it, he looked like he wanted to cry.
I just couldn't understand why Fitz would open any conversation with Liv's father talking about he knows how Liv tastes. Because granted, you want Eli to be upset, but that's so disrespectful to Liv.
Right.
That I couldn't understand why you would even go there.
Because men are like that. They just get into their little pissy matches and they don't care.
Well, Eli read him the riot act plus more. I mean, reminded him, you don't even deserve to be here.
Right.
You're not even supposed to be here. And you're only using my daughter as a way to get out of here because you don't want it. You're not built for this. You're not built for this. You're not cut out for this. You're not supposed to be here. And now you're trying to use my daughter as a way for you to escape all of it.
I thought that was a very interesting observation.
Yeah.
He said to him, as a student of my daughter's hand, you're a disappointment. I was like, damn.
I was like, maybe he should show him pictures of the house in Vermont. I love the overlooking balconies indoors. Maybe that'll bring him
that big archway. No, Eli does not care.
Eli was not beat.
No. So, but Liv, she has other problems. Her mother is like a terrorist, and her mother's still in Washington, which she doesn't know yet.
Yes. So the question is, did the plane ever take off? I mean, I imagine they watched the plane take off, if I recall correctly. Whatever. So it's in the air. Did you kill the pilots in the air and then auto fly it back and then land it, and now you're back in DC? What's the plan in DC?
I don't know.
What's the plan, Mama Pope?
Who knows what that crazy terrorist lady's up to? I mean,
she is moving about the space as if she has not been locked up for 20 years.
Thank you. And that is what I don't like about the whole Mama Pope storyline. If someone's been locked up for 22 years, there's got to be something wrong with their mind. They've got to need some recovery time.
Some of our commenters actually made this very observation. They were saying that for someone to be in solitary confinement, even with limited visits from Eli or doctors or whomever, your mind is going to be mush at that point because we know what happens to people in solitary even after a couple of months.
Right.
So then one of the commenters made a really interesting observation. What if Mama Pope was actually still being dispatched out on missions while in prison? Because what's the point of having a tracking chip in someone if you know where she's going to be at all times? So that's an interesting theory. I don't know if there's actually something to run with there, but I did like that.
Yeah, that is.
That would also make more sense as to why the woman is just so acclimated to the world.
Right. She had her designer coat on. She was like...
Let me tell you, one of our commenters was like hella upset at the fact that we acknowledged the fact that Mama Pope had extensions.
Oh.
So they were like, why can't she have good hair? Excuse me. Just excuse me. I don't know if any of you have ever seen when someone's exonerated from prison. This happens in the New York area a lot. Someone goes to prison for 20, 25, 30 years. They're not even supposed to be there. When they come out, they don't look quite so great. Oh. They look a hot, thunderous, I've been in jail for 25 years mess. And even when they do the follow-up story like 3-4 months later, they still look a mess.
I'm just saying, look at Orange is the New Black. None of those girls have extensions. That's all I'm saying.
Orange is the New Black. Look at MSNBC's Lockup. I watched that show. Those girls don't look good.
Mama Pope is a league of her own.
She is flyer than the rest of them. She is the flyest spy that ever did it.
She really, I don't know when she had time to shop. Maybe she took some clothes out of Liv's closet, but she looked very stylish in her white trench coat at the end. She had a burner phone. She looked fantastic. You go, Mama Pope.
There you go. Got to blend in.
Right.
Got to blend in. You can't be riding around in the DC metro area as a black woman with your hair not done. So I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I just find that comical.
You're going to get people mad at us for talking about this woman's hair so much.
Listen, these are things that I care about. Hate me or love me.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about in this episode?
No, I mean, just my predictions for next season or after the break. Sally better run for president because that's a fight I want to see.
I think she will run. I love her new campaign manager who used to be on Private Practice.
Okay.
Love him in this role. I think he's ruthless. I think he will do what it takes to get that.
Because that's what this show needs is one more ruthless person. It's exactly what Scandal needs is another out of control individual.
There's quite a dearth of ruthless people.
All right, so good. I mean, we've got a lot to work with. I don't think the show will be back until late February. So got some time here to let all this marinate.
All right, everyone. Again, subscribe to our channel and leave us comments.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.